is a common translation of Ar-Rahman. Merciful, that's a common translation. The most gracious, I think that's a common translation also. Okay, I'm going to strongly disagree with both of them, and I'll show you why. Ar-Rahim, Rahman comes from the word Rahim and Rahm. And this is actually used for the womb of the mother. It says here, Mambitul walad, wa wi'a'uhu fil batan, meaning the mother's belly. As the baby is growing inside the mother's belly, the bag, the sack that Allah has created to allow the baby to grow and nourish, that is actually called Rahm. Rahm is a famous hadith Qudsi in which Allah speaks with the Rahm and says, I named you by my name. Right? There's a famous hadith Qudsi like that. Sammaytuka bismi. Okay? Now, that's one meaning of the word Rahm. Now, this is a very important meaning, because then if you're going to think about the word mercy, is the mother having mercy on her child? Not really. The teacher that was about to fail you and decided to give you 5 extra credit points and didn't fail you showed you what? Mercy. The police officer that pulled you over and decided not to give you a ticket showed you what? Mercy. The soldiers that were about to execute everyone in the village, but they let them go because they were unarmed, showed them mercy. In other words, mercy is associated with being spared. Mercy in English is associated with being spared. But the raham of a mother has nothing to do with being spared. The mother is not sparing the child. The mother is doing 2 things with the child. If I was to summarize, she's caring for the child constantly and unconditionally. Actually, physically, the conditions are to the disadvantage of the mother. The child is making her throw up. The child is making her constantly sick. The child, as the child grows, it is literally eating away at her. And it's causing her more and more pain. As the pregnancy continues, her life doesn't get easier. Her life only gets harder, right? The first trimester, some women are just throwing up constantly, can't sleep, can't be awake, can't lie down, can't sit up. There's no peace ever. And this baby has basically made them entirely miserable. But are they upset with the baby? No. In fact, with every gag and every vomit, they're like, I hope the baby's okay. You're dying, and the one that's killing you, you're like, I hope you're okay. Right? And then the baby gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now her spine starts hurting. When she walks, it's like carrying a backpack full of books strapped on your front, and you walk around with that for a few months. See what that does for your spine. Right? See what does this for your back support. And how her shoulders are pulled in, and her entire core is pulled in, her legs are hurting, her hips are hurting. She's in constant pain. Not to mention her bladder's being squeezed all the time. So she's got to go to the bathroom every 5 seconds. She can't drink anything. Every time she drinks, it's a decision. Because the bathroom is upstairs. You know? So there's laughter, and there's also pain in that laughter, I hear. So but the point of all of that is this: the mother is actually literally giving up her freedom, her comfort, herself and the child inside is just chilling. He's just, rent is paid, food service. You don't even have to get up anywhere. And when he poops too, and the poop gets cleaned up, everything's taken care of. And and as he gets older, what does he do to thank the mother? Inside the belly, he starts kicking her from the inside. It was like, and she's like, you know, this is what a child does. And then it's time for the child to not live rent-free and to get out. And when he gets out, he nearly kills this woman. He almost kills her. She bleeds like she's never bled in her life. He tears her body open. Her bones have to shift. Her body has to tear open for this child to exist. And this horrifying experience. And who caused her that bleeding? Who caused her that pain? That little creature that was like a parasite inside her. And now it comes out, and what does she do? She hugs the baby. She wants to feed the baby. When the nurse takes it away, can you bring it back? Can you bring it back? That's my almost murderer. You know? And when she feeds the baby for the first time, that's also, some describe, as painful as bleeding itself. It's not an easy pain. And she's happily feeding the baby. And then the baby, as soon as it comes out, it's crying and complaining and it wants to be taken care of, not just some of the time, all of the time. So now you just came out of a near-death experience, and you are now on the full time, doesn't even begin to describe what a mother has to be to a child. There's no sleep left, there's no calm left, there's no peace left. And as this child finally learns to get a little bit independent, okay, they can crawl a little bit, that's a new anxiety because they can crawl themselves into trouble. And they can put all kinds of things in their mouth. And then when they can stand up, you have to hold every corner of every table because the baby's walking that way. And you have to constantly look whether they're heading towards the stairs or not. Or somebody might open the door too fast. Constant anxiety and trouble for this child. What does the child give you in return? Nothing. The child gives you nothing. It just gives you joy. And where did that joy come from? Not from the child. The child did nothing to earn that love. The child actually did nothing. And you're just pouring love and care constantly that started from your raham, for a mother's raham. And that's the word that Allah chose to describe one of His most powerful names, Ar-Rahman, to give us an idea of the kind of love and care, I'll say two words, love and care, that Allah demonstrates to every human being. And those two words are really important because they summarize what's happening with a mother and the child in the raham. Now why? You can care for someone without loving them. Is that possible? Yeah. In a nursing home, the nurse is taking care of the elderly. They don't love them, but they care for them. You could actually be taking care of your old parents and you have a bad relationship with them. You don't feel love for them, but you're still caring for them. You could be in a marriage, don't look the other way, where you're caring for your spouse, but you don't feel any love anymore. That can happen. Siblings can care for each other without feeling love anymore. It can dry up. That can happen. Care exists without love. It exists all the time. In most Pakistani families, actually. Or you can have love without care. Is that possible? Yeah. You could love somebody. You could love, like a child can love their mom, but it doesn't care that it's inconveniencing the mom. It doesn't care what the mom's tired. It doesn't care. I know you had a long day and I'm really worried about you. It doesn't. Get up and feed me. It loves you, but it actually technically doesn't care for you so much. It cares for itself. It's a selfish kind of love, and that childish love. There are adults who have relationships where they claim that they love, or they maybe even feel love, but their love looks like they have no ounce of what? Care. So these are two distinct things. But in the raham of a mother, both of these things reach their climax. She's absolutely in love with this creature that has no idea she exists. You are nothing. If you're a baby, you are nothing to her, mom. You're nothing to her. You don't exist to her. You're sacrificing yourself for this baby, but the baby actually sees you as non-existent. Does that remind you of a human being's relationship with Allah? Like Allah doing everything, all the time. Your lungs, my eyes, the fluid in my eyeballs, the fact that my tongue is wet, the fact that I can, actually my voice box works, the fact that I can put words together, the fact that my neurons are firing right now, the fact that I can move my fingers. None of this is on autopilot. This is not like your phone when you put it on a charger and now it's going to run on its own. That an engine runs. Every single cell in my body needs the care and love from Allah to be able to function. Every neuron needs Allah's rahmah to be able to function from one second to the next. It cannot exist without Allah's caring for every bit of me. We can't begin to imagine what that rahmah is. We can't. But this is one of the two meanings, the secondary meanings of the word. We're not even at Rahman yet, just Rahim right now. The second meaning of Rahim is Rahim as-Saqa. The story behind that is, back in the day, people didn't have plastic water bottles. Back in the day, people had leather pouches. leather pouches that they put water in, leather satchels. Okay? You have to make sure that you oil your leather pouch because once it gets dry, it can start cracking. And then when it gets cracked, it becomes weaker. So when you fill it completely with water, you'll realize that the water is going to start leaking out. So if it's a water skin, a bag, leather pouch that hasn't been taken care of, and when you fill it completely, it starts coming out, that's actually called a rahim. That filled water satchel is called a rahim when it starts leaking out. And from it, the idea was someone so filled in love for you that it starts oozing out of them. Like they can't contain it within. Like the child cannot be contained inside the belly, it comes out. And the water cannot be contained inside the skin, and it comes out. It's actually not just that Allah loves and Allah cares, but it actually comes out. It's not just contained. You see? Like sometimes you have to be tough with someone. I love you, but I have to punish you. Right? I love you, but I have to do this. This is for your own good. Right? And it's the love part of you is not coming out. You see? But Allah Azza wa Jal in this word is illustrating that the love actually pours out. It's remarkable to me that this word is an ayah by itself. And now we get to Ar-Rahman, the actual word and what it suggests. So there's two names that are similar of Allah. Of course, in the Fatiha, you guys are all familiar. Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Allah did not use Ar-Rahim allama al-Quran. He used Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. So how is Ar-Rahman different? Ar-Rahman is the an at the end. This is called Sighatul Mubalagha, Fa'lan. So there are words in Arabic that sound like that. Ghadban, Jaw'an, Atshan. Right? And similarly, Rahman. Right? So these words have a similar spelling structure. They start with a fatha, then they have a sukoon, and then the last part has an an in it. So Ghadban, Atshan, Jaw'an, all of them have that. When words are spelled similarly in Arabic, they have similar added meanings. This is part of the toppings I was telling you. Right? Some of the toppings come from the root letter, other toppings come from the way the word is spelled, the sarf of the word, the morphology of the word. So let's learn something about that. There are three things that come out of this spelling structure. Three things. One, it has to be something extreme. So if something sounds like an, Ghadban doesn't just mean angry. That's ghadib. Ghadban means furious, extremely angry. Atish is someone who's thirsty, but Atshan is actually dehydrated, extremely, extremely thirsty. Similarly, Ja'i' is a hungry person, but Jaw'an is extremely, extremely starving. The way you would describe a starving person would be Jaw'an, okay? So Rahman is not just loving and caring. What does it mean? Extremely, overwhelmingly loving and caring. It's not just love and care. Love and care is already in Rahim. But Ar-Rahman is extreme loving care. That's the first implication of Fa'lan. The second implication of Fa'lan is actually that it's happening right now. It's a sighatul mubalagha of an ism fa'il. It's happening as we speak. So it's not something like, for example, if I say Kareem is a patient man. I know some guy named Kareem, and I say he's a patient man. But he might be sleeping right now, so he's not exactly patient right now. Or he might be, playing a video game right now. That doesn't mean he's patient right now. That just means he has the quality of patience, and when the time comes, he can show patience. But that doesn't mean he's demonstrating patience all the time. Rahman is not just someone who loves and cares. Actually, it means someone who is engaged in the act of demonstrating that love and care as we speak. He's doing it right now. If you say someone's reliable, does that mean they're being reliable right now? No. But if you say someone is being reliable, someone's acting reliably, what does that say? They're doing it as we speak. So Rahman actually has that huduth in it. It's happening as we speak. It's not just, when is the rahmah of Allah going to come? When is Allah going to show me care? When is Allah going to show me love? He's Ar-Rahman. He's already showing it. He's already showing it. That's the second meaning. The third meaning is actually a little bit scary. Actually, a lot of bit scary. But it takes a beautiful turn in this surah. And that is that it's actually something temporary. These extremes are associated with something temporary. Why? Because they're passing. Like as in, Ghadban is extremely angry, but you can't stay extremely angry. Or Jaw'an is extremely thirsty, you can't stay extremely thirsty. Something comes and gets rid of it. Right? Water comes, gets rid of the thirst. Food comes, gets rid of the hunger. Right? So something comes and gets rid of the anger. The same way, Ar-Rahman is an extreme mercy of Allah, but it's possible that people can do something that will disqualify them from it. There's a scary notion inside Ar-Rahman. This will make you understand, perhaps, the Sahaba, like Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, when they were contemplating the Fatiha, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, they said Ar-Rahman is for this world and Ar-Rahim is for the next life. Now, why would they say that? Because this world is temporary and the next world is permanent. And this word, even in its spelling structure, actually alludes to something temporary. Now, you can have Ar-Rahman, Allah be Ar-Rahman to you in this life, and Ar-Rahim to you in the next life. How? The only way is you don't disqualify yourself from the Rahmah of Allah. That's the only way you can do that. And that's actually one of the main subject matters of this surah. So this was some things about the meanings of the word. One last comment about that. Allah's love and care is being described at an extreme. Right? It's an episode of extreme love and care from Allah. That episode is when He taught the Quran. And when He created the human being. And when He taught human beings to speak. There are three statements that are coming. We're going to get into them in a bit after this session. This session, we're only going to talk about Rahman. We're not going to talk about anything else. But we're going to see what are the extreme manifestations. This episode of extreme rahmah from Allah, where did it show up? It shows up in three places. And those are the three places that are coming right after this ayah. So now let's do some other things. About the placement of Ar-Rahman. Is it the subject of a sentence? You know how you say, if I say, New Jersey, and you're like, oh, what about New Jersey? Tell me your opinion. Because I told you my subject, grammatically speaking, I told you my subject, I didn't give you a predicate. I didn't say New Jersey has amazing, I'm sure something. Once I find it, I'll let you know. I used to live here, by the way. Or is it, so Ar-Rahman, and then you're like, Ar-Rahman what? Right? And maybe the predicate is Allama al-Quran, Khalaqa al-Insan, Allamahu. That's the predicate. That's what He wants you to know about Ar-Rahman. That's one way. Another is it the predicate of a sentence? Meaning, is there something understood before it? He is Ar-Rahman. And you know, sometimes, for example, there's a match. You really wanted to watch the final, right? And instead of saying the final started, you just say final. Or you just say it started. But started means what? The final started. So you just mention the predicate, you don't mention the subject, but people get it. So it could be that some scholars look at this as this is the predicate of an existing subject. Not very convincing explanation, but still that's found in our tafsir. Or, very interestingly, is it a declaration all on its own? It's as if this one word is a statement by itself that doesn't even need a predicate. On its own, it's an entire thesis. On its own, this word is guidance. Even if you said nothing else, and you just said Ar-Rahman, you'd just be lost in a universe of thought. Right? Like you would think, I want to think about this statement. I want to think about this discussion. I want to think about this paragraph. I want to think about this book. Here Allah is saying, just think about what? This word. Just get lost inside this word. And He stopped the ayah there.